Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. In this video I'm going to go through my final draft ready for game week 1. Just like every other FPL manager, I'm getting a little bit nervous, a little bit twitchy before that start line, which is on Friday, remember. So I've come up with a couple of teams that I am considering. A lot of these players are locked in, but I have found a route to another player that I particularly want to get in. So we'll have a look at that at the end, so stick around for that. In the meantime, guys, don't forget we are with you throughout the course of this FPL season, so make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with team selections, watch lists, all that good stuff. But in the meantime, let's get on with it. In goal then, I have gone for Onana. Since Manchester United signed him, he just looks like a really attractive proposition. With the home games they got, Wolves, Forest, Brighton even, I'm pretty happy. 4 out of first 6 games are at home. 5 million looks like a really reasonable price. It allows me, I think, to get off short, which he is a perfectly good asset, but 5.5 frees up some more money in that defence, I think. And I've got Man United covered with Onana, who no previous stats for him in the Premier League, obviously with Serie A before Champions League final. Very good with his feet. I'm hoping that he may get 1 or 2 bonus points with a clean sheet, just because of the potential pass distribution. He can rack up those bonus points as well. But Onana is going to be pretty much set and forget. Alongside him, no surprises, very template. I'm just going to go with Areola. 4 million, cheap playing goalkeeper. Not expecting him to get many starts for my side. If West Ham overperform and gets look a really tight unit, then possibly. But anything happens to Onana, I've got Areola, and those two are just likely to dovetail, or at least Onana start every game. The only thing that could put a fly in that ointment, I think, is Sanchez signing for Chelsea. Now, if he does get that number 1 shirt, 4.5 is pretty hard to ignore for Chelsea. But unless I get guaranteed news that it's going to happen, I think I'm going to stick with Onana. But that could shake things up a little bit if Sanchez was suddenly confirmed number 1 for Chelsea at 4.5. Pretty obvious, really highly owned. Estepinian comes in at 5 million for Brighton. Those first 3 fixtures look great. We've seen him against some of the bigger sides last year. Away at Arsenal, remember, Estepinian, just legendary game he had. But even a Newcastle at home, Man U away, not massively concerned. And I do have quite a strong bench, which I'll talk about later on. So Estepinian can be benched for those. 1 goal, 7 assists, had a decent season, looks pretty nailed, a lack of competition. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the Europa League commitments later on in the season, obviously, as well, and see if he can't possibly play every game, you wouldn't have thought. His XGI, good, but not outstanding in terms of Trent and Trippier, James, but Brighton pretty good defensively anyway, so I like Estepinian. And a lot of people like him as well. He's over 50% owned, which is really high for a Brighton defender. I don't think anyone would see that coming this time last year. Gabriel, cheapest way into that Arsenal team. And I do want 3 Arsenal players. Forest at home, Passway, Fulham at home, and then Everton on game week 5. Wow. I mean, even Man United at home, I could easily see clean sheet and goals. Gabriel, 5 million, cheapest way into that Arsenal defence. Timber looks good. Zinchenko, yes, wouldn't mind him either. It's just who's going to get the minutes. And Gabriel, I think, guarantees it at centre-back for me. Not much of an attacking threat, but he did get 3 from set pieces last year. 0.12, I'll take that. But nowhere near up the lights of Trent, Trippier, James playing as fullbacks. But it is a cheap way into that Arsenal defence. 5 million looks like a very fair price to me for him. Moving across then, this could easily be Stones. One thing that does concern me or worry me a little bit is they don't have any real natural fullbacks. Maybe with Rico Lewis, but he doesn't seem to be playing at fullback that much. Then you have lots of Cancelo, seems just out of favour. Walker, looks like they've kind of made up him and Pep, signing a new contract. 5 million, playing at fullback. I do like him, 5 million. He just offers nothing going forward, let's not lie. 0.02, that's about it. Probably goalkeepers with better expected goal involvement than Walker. And nothing last year. Stones with Cavadio, so many centre-backs. I don't know. I don't think any of them are nailed. Walker possibly, I could easily, it wouldn't take much to convince me to go to Stones. I do have the money to do it, so that may be what happens, but right now I'm going for Kyle Walker. In defence alongside them then, I've gone for Chilwell. It would be Reece James if it was an absolute two-horse race between the two of them and an equal standings. I think I would pick James pretty much 9 times out of 10. Chilwell though, he's got the minutes in pre-season. He had a few games at the end of last season. He just looks like he's going to get the minutes moving into the season. Liverpool home, difficult fixture. West Ham away, not easy. Then you have a wonderful set of fixtures starting with Luton and Forest at home. 5.5 looks good. Even with the lack of minutes he had at the end of last season, still picked up 2 goals, 2 assists, decent XGI. He's definitely coming in for me. And then finally, making up that last slot, I've got Digne. He does have some decent fixtures with Everton and Burnley, Palace as well. And he looks like in pre-season he's the #1 choice with Moreno out as well. If he gets back to anything like the form he showed at Everton before he moved to Villa, then everyone's going to want a piece of him. But 4.5, I'm pretty happy to pay that. I could have gone 4 million and picked a Bulldog or someone like that, but I just think Digne offers, I'd much rather have that, go the extra 0.5 and have a worthwhile player, because come game week 2 or 3, we just don't know who's going to be in these sides. There's just a few uncertainties in my side that I want a bench, and Digne provides that. So moving into midfield then, without Jesus, I've absolutely doubled up on Arsenal. Great fixtures for Saka on pens, plays minutes. He's overperformed his XGI last year, which on the face of it was okay, but not up to the likes of De Bruyne, Salah and Rashford. But I expect Arsenal to be even stronger than they were last year. He definitely comes in, and alongside him, I've had to go Odegaard just for the minutes. I could easily go to Martinelli. I just think Odegaard's minutes are more nailed. Good XGI once again. If he does come off early, you suspect it's only because Arsenal have already got the game 1 done and dusted. And if that's the case, he's probably got involved in the goals somewhere along the line as well. So Odegaard 8.5, happy to pay that. Definitely want 3 Arsenal players in there. If Jesus was fit, he would have been in. Odegaard initially, and certainly would be out. Moving to midfield, I think I have to. After the season he had last year, it's got to be Rashford. Again, same circumstances as Onana. 4 out of the first 6 that are going to be at home. He's playing up front. Was it Højlund not yet fit? So 17 goals, 30 across all competitions, 0.7 XGI. What a season. 9 million. He's just an absolute set and forget. I'm not planning on moving him on anytime soon. What would be even better if he suddenly went on pens, but I can't see that happening. And Bremo 0-1, 6.5. He was all the rage. People have come off him. I still like him. He has a flag, but Frank Clark has come out and said, yeah, he will be fit. Don't worry for Sunday. So expect that in the press conference to come off. Not great fixture owned for Tottenham, but given that they beat him at the end of last season away from home, and Bremo I think got a couple of that as well. You got Fulham, Palace, Bournemouth. They look good. 6.5 up front on pens. I just think he has to come in. 0.51, decent XGI for 6.5. I don't think he's the pick of the 6.5s for me. 9 goals, 9 assists. He looks brilliant. The temptation is to just get rid of him and then just put some fodder on the bench for 4.5 million. I'm resisting that. I do think Mbeumo's decent, and I do want a bench. Mitoma's the other one, 6.5. Looks the most nailed for Brighton, where they have a lot of competition. Cisco would be one that would really interest me, because he's, $1.5 million cheaper, so could go down that route. It's just minutes, but even Mitoma's minutes at the moment is Andriga, who did really well in pre-season. He's come back from a year out on loan. So he possibly will be stealing some minutes from Mitoma, but I can't see Mitoma not starting. If anything, his minutes will be reduced, coming off earlier. But with those fixtures, I'm happy at 6.5, decent price. Mitoma gets the nod for me. His XGI looks good. What a season he had. And you suspect Brighton just going to get better. They really strengthened this season as well. But as an FPL point of view, there's a lot more competition now in that Brighton midfield and up front. 40 million, what do you say about Haaland? It's probably just worth mentioning that he is the most expensive player in the game, and there is a reason for that. I don't think we need reminding, but 36 goals, 45 goal involvements. Did he only play 35, 36 games last year as well? Wow, just head and shoulders, has to play, captaincy, can't even think about watching a game with not owning him. Mbamba, I hope I said that right. Yeah, initially it was Archer in case Watkins got injured, but Mbamba looks like he is the #1 choice for West Ham. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the press conference, first game of the season, but he's played a lot of pre-season games. but intentionally he's just going to sit on the bench. But at 4.5, potentially playing up front for West Ham could be a good option. And then finally, I have gone quite cheap up front. I've gone João Pedro. He's played and scored in a lot of pre-season games for Brighton, and he's on penalties. Big money signing for them as well. Great fixtures. It is a little bit of a punt, I think, and there is a little bit of worry over his minutes because they've got so many options in that midfield and up front in Brighton. And if he plays up front, he's competing with Undav, Evan Ferguson, Welbeck, and even if he's playing deeper, he's got lots of Lallana and Cisco Bonametto. So there's a lot of competition there, but he's been brought in presumably to play more, get minutes and play games, and he's been doing that in pre-season. Like I said, on penalties is a bit of a cherry on top. 5.5. If he plays in those first 3 games, great. If he doesn't, then I'm happy to have a 5.5 on the bench and look to move him on after a couple of games. But it is a little bit of a punt, and I'm prepared to take that. So this is the side then. That is my 15 players. It actually comes out to 97 million, so I do have some money to play with, and I'm going to show you what the alternative or the option of doing with that is in a minute. Walker possibly, if I stick with this team, could come out and Stones would come in. I don't know who's more nailed, possibly Stones. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Other than that, I don't really want to shuffle. I could upgrade Mbeumo and Matoma. Don't think I want to. And when you see in a minute, when I go through the first 3 game weeks, actually I've got a lot of players or a lot of money on the bench. So by strengthening elsewhere, and I'm not really sure where I can strengthen, I'm just putting some good players on the bench. So I do quite like this side. It feels wrong that I've come in so cheap, but there is an alternative where I use all the money, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So for game week 1, this is how my side would line up. I'm going to have Chilwell and Digne on the bench, and Mbeumo, like I say, expect to be fit at home to Tottenham. That's the only one I could possibly consider moving out and bringing in Chilwell, possibly. That would be the only consideration. If Mubamba was starting, could I put him instead? Who knows? Pedro, I'm going to go with him in game week 1. Chilwell could come off the bench if any of these don't play. However, in fact, if Walker didn't play, Chilwell comes straight in. Not got a huge problem with that either. So game week looked pretty well set up. I think Haaland has to be captain pretty much in every game week. Game week 2 then, how this would set up. Again, I've got Chilwell on the bench because I think I would play Walker at home to Forest. So all of a sudden I've got Digne on the bench even though he's got Everton at home. Because I think I'd still play Estepinian away from home at Wolves. And Haaland would get the captaincy again. Pedro, yeah, I think I'll play him as well if he was playing. If not, Chilwell would come in, or possibly Digne, I think, at home to Everton. But I've got options off the bench there. And in game week 3, I'm looking at really strong, which is a nice problem to have. Digne again on the bench. Now, that begs the question, if Digne's on the bench 3 times, what is the point in having Digne in £3 million on the bench? Let's upgrade him or completely get rid of him. It is nice having a play defender on the bench. But what I could do with this side, and I'm not, this is more alternative. This feels much more aggressive, and maybe that is the way to go this season. I'll be maybe too conservative, still finish decent ranks, but maybe be a bit more aggressive from the start. And so I could take out Digne. I'd have to take a sacrifice out with Odegaard, down to Martinelli, which I don't have a huge problem with, and Trent comes in. The problem with Trent coming in, and I do love Trent, look at that XGI, 0.46, 2 goals, 11 assists, and he got 8 returns in the last 10 games. So that doesn't even tell the full picture that he's now kind of pushed up into that midfield role. In game week 1, he would come in to the Chelsea side, possibly leave Mbeumo out. I could play Mbeumo, but I think if I'm bringing Trent in away at Chelsea, I've got to play him. That looks pretty decent side. Game week 2, he absolutely plays against Bournemouth, and that pushes Mbeumo out. And that's all he's doing at the moment. It's just pushing Mbeumo out the side. Mbeumo. So that's who it is. So the question for the first 2 weeks is, does Trent score more points away at Chelsea at home to Bournemouth than Mbeumo at home to Tottenham and away at Fulham? I think it probably does, yeah. So that would be the choice. And Mbeumo obviously comes in if Pedro doesn't play or another player comes out. And then game week 3, possibly neither play, because I think Trent away at Newcastle I would probably just ditch. But I've got a lot of good players already in that side, so it's not an issue. And then Trent would come in for the following game weeks. And he's even a captaincy option in that second week where Haaland would have at home to Newcastle, which could be quite a difficult fixture, you'd think. But that's the option. That's the more aggressive approach. I personally don't think Martinelli will outscore Odegaard over the course of the season. but I could be wrong. Martinelli could get forward, and we've seen what he can do as well. But I don't have a huge option with that problem with that. But I do like Trent. He is a good player, and I'm pushing in that midfield. 8 out of 10 returns playing from midfield, and he is a defender. Is hard to ignore. So that would be the slightly more aggressive approach. It would mean that I'd have to keep Walker. I couldn't go to Stones. But again, I don't have a big problem with that. Let me know what you think. That's it for this one then, guys. Let me know in the comments below who you are bringing in for your game week 1 draft, and which of the 2 options, if you were me, do you think is better. In the meantime, we'll come back at you after the game 1 deadline with a team selection video for game week 2, watch list, all that good stuff. So in the meantime, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up with the latest content, and we shall see you soon.